Welcome back to Diary of a Medium Stories from the Spirit World podcast. And today I have a guest with me. I'd like to introduce to you Mark. Now, Mark is an incredible intuitive energy healer, psychic medium, and the founder of Salt, Light, and Soul, where he helps people to heal, reconnect with their inner truth by releasing old energy and stepping into alignment with their higher path. Now, Mark weaves grounded wisdom from lived experiences into his work, guiding others through energy alignment and soul transformation by helping them remember that everything they seek is already within you. What a bio! Love it. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you so
Nice to have
much.
you here.
Yeah, it's an honor to be
You
here.
are welcome. That Amazing. I'm looking forward to our chat today so much and sharing the wisdom and things that you have to share with my audience as well.
Yeah.
So I guess let's touch a little bit on how we know each other.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about it actually, and I was trying to think, obviously we connected through the Little Psychic School, June Max platform. And I was trying to think about how many years ago, but it was quite a while, I'm reckoning. What do you reckon?
I want to say 2023 or 2022. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm feeling 22.
Yeah.
I think time's gone quicker than we realize. I
Yeah.
think that it was around about that time that we kind of crossed paths, and then some different things that we did. We kind of, our energy seemed to intertwine here and there, different events that we'd kind of connect at as well. And then you moved to the Gold Coast. Is that right?
That's right. I was in
Or were you already
Brisbane
on the Gold
and then
Coast?
moved. I'm on the Gold Coast now,
Yes.
but yeah, I made that transition in 23. So yeah, good memory. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we met before you moved down to the Gold Coast, and then we eventually met in person when June came on holiday this year, and we went and had a few drinks and a bit of a woo-woo catch up, which was
That was fun.
awesome. And it's been really nice. Like I've done a little bit of work with you in the past, and I've kind of watched you step into your own path as well, and see your confidence get better. And then now with your business that you have launched, yeah, the things that you're doing is pretty cool. So that's amazing.
It's been a journey, definitely, like from 22 to 23, and then like really stepping into it this year and last year. So definitely an
Yes,
experience. So
that's
it's
right.
been awesome to watch you grow as well while I've been doing it. It's been inspiration for me. So thank you. But yeah, I'm really excited and I
Oh,
love the
that's
work. So
nice.
it's great.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for sure. And, like saying we love the work, and people are like, what's the work? But, I think like I'd really love to actually take you back. And you mentioned to me you said about 17 years ago, you had this encounter that basically changed the trajectory of who you were and, the journey that you were going on through your life. So I'd love you to share that with our listeners because I know it's going to be a really amazing story.
Yeah. So yeah, probably just over 18 or maybe 18 years ago. Yeah, now 17, 18 years ago. It was one of those tower moments, and I've had several. I think everybody has several tower moments throughout their life. And I was maybe 1920. I was in an environment that just did not serve me, whether that was like the area I lived in or the work I was doing or the people I was around. It just wasn't the space for me. And a few other instances happened, and I don't typically like to label like different occurrences because I feel like everyone's suffering is their suffering and that's their part of their learning. But for me, there was like several things happening
Yes.
at once. And I'd been to psychologists, naturopaths, everyone you could think of. And I hadn't thought to see like a psychic or a healer or anything like that. And actually, somebody I know had seen this lady who was doing like psychic readings and healings. And she recommended that I go and see her. And I went and saw her, not really knowing what I was in for. And we sat down and just had like a really pragmatic chat about things. And I wasn't very open about everything, but she was very well aware of where I was at. Um, so shortly after we had a bit of a chat, nothing psychic was said at the time, but she said, "Oh, why don't you lay down on the bed and I'll do a bit of a healing for you." And it was the first time I walked out of an office or a professional's or a psychic's place and felt like a little bit lighter, like I was a little bit more aligned and like the future was a bit brighter. And I was like, wow, I've really sought help from every avenue that I know. And I know I'm still in the thick of it, but this is the first time that I genuinely felt like I got something out of the exchange and the interaction. And it just blew my mind, frankly. Like, I feel like when I reflect now, maybe when I was maybe 6 or 7, I'd had some psychic experiences or mediumship experiences, and I'd really suppressed that, just the environment again. And having that experience at 19, 20 years old, it just like blew my mind. And I ended up seeing her and largely learning from her for 10 years. Every 3 months, I saw her. So huge pivotal figure in my life and changed everything. It just sent me on this path of reading books and experimenting, doing ceremonies overseas and volunteering in foreign places that practice these certain ways of living. And it was this, I guess I'm quite hard headed. So it was this really slow process of cracking me open until I had like another tower moment that was just like wiped everything away and like, you need to do this. So, and that was when I kind of came into contact with you in 22 and to really do the work and put all that knowledge and experience into something more tangible where I could serve people. And that's what I'm doing now. So it's been a journey. It's been absolutely wild. And I can't even think of one like specific thing outside of that's happened, but it's just been, since I've let it in, it's just like kind of flooded in. And it's just been this beautiful experience where you genuinely help so many people. And I love it. Yeah.
Mm. Yes, amazing. I love that you just said what just sat with me at the end there when you said you let it in.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I feel the energy of when you said that, right? Like, you've been on this journey for so long since your 20s and you've gone to other people and learned from other people. But that belief that this is within me, I can do this, you know, by letting that in and allowing yourself to step into that and doing what you're doing now. It's like, it's not an easy feat, really, is it? Especially as you said, the environment when you grow up isn't set up for these kind of experiences often, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, when, you're saying that the environment really wasn't set up for that sort of, I guess, experience.
Yeah, I guess, just the characters in your life and the environment that you're in. I was living in an area where it was very much a square peg and round hole situation. And I was working in the mining industry. So I worked in the mining industry for like, I don't know, 10 years, I think it was altogether. And construction and managing businesses. So this very like, masculine, forceful, like
Masculine, yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
environment. And not that I didn't fit in, I just didn't feel like that was my place, And I made some really good relationships and friends and still connected to a lot of those people now. But yeah, it just wasn't for me. And I could feel every part of my soul like pulling me in this direction that everything around me wasn't aligned to. So it really took me like moving away from there to Brisbane and then subsequently to here, to really allowing that like to create the environment that suited me a bit better. And yeah, like life's just been so rich so quickly, and I've met just amazing people. And yeah, I'm like genuinely happy. Like there's no other words for it. I feel really blessed and fortunate. I largely attribute that to like, taking those steps of, self-discovery and healing, and, just knowing that the environment plays such a huge part on us. And if we need to change that, or we need to adapt and change or face some parts of ourselves to better that environment or how we approach it, then, it is always worth it. There's such a big reward at the other side.
Love that you're sharing this as well, right? Because it's, we talk about the work, doing the internal work when we're on this journey ourselves. But often if your external environment isn't right either, then it's not going to thrive. You can't be yourself. And this is a big thing, isn't it? In this space where we're in, the masking that that this person might not like it, or, I might not be accepted in that space. And especially when you were saying the masculine space, it's like, can you imagine going, oh, like I was just talking to dead people yesterday, like it's not really the place where. So you're having to, I guess, mask, aren't you? We all have done it in certain environments to kind of fit into the external environment that we're in, because we have to do that for safety in that space. And to truly then be able to do what you've done, take the action, move, change the external environment, and then let it in. And then have the allowing of the balance of that to happen. And so many people don't ever get there. So many people stay in that space of being scared to unmask,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a
the
huge thing.
person
And
they are.
yeah, you definitely, it affects like your relationships and so much of like the foundation of what we consider part of our life. Like you are really uprooting so
Mm-hmm.
much. And it is a challenge. And I admittedly still have a lot of people in my life that don't know about this work. And it's not so
Mm.
much a an effort to like hide that from them. It's just that I think we all can encounter somebody and know where they're at in their journey if they're open to this, if they can accept this, and whether that's just, you know, a really young soul or if it's a person that is extremely religious. So
Absolutely.
you've got to,
Yeah.
and also when you create, like spend the time to create a life around what you love and do those things, you don't want to hide it, but you also kind of want to protect it as well. So you've got to use that intuitive ability to assess who are the right people to take on this journey with me. It's a big thing. Yeah.
Yes, I love this 100%. 100%. I absolutely get what you're saying, right? Sometimes it isn't about, oh, I'm hiding because that person's not going to accept me. It's actually, you know, there's certain people I don't want to share that with because it's sacred. And I know that they're not going to understand. And you get, and I think, and I don't know if you resonate with this, like when I kind of had my awakening and I was like, hey, there's something on the other side. Like, let's come with me. Like, it's amazing over here, you know. And you want to bring everyone with you, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, come and have a look, what's going on here? And then you slowly kind of realize, or maybe it's quite quickly actually, that not everyone is really going to understand. And guess what? Not everyone is going to support you. And
Yeah.
guess what? No, not everybody has to.
Yeah.
But I went through this kind of phase where I was like trying to bring everybody with me, you know, which then meant that I was constantly feeling like I was defending what I was doing, or I was like fighting for people to understand me.
Yeah.
And then when I kind of really got to the point where I was like, Spirit is just showing me that what you're doing is sacred, and the people who are meant to come with you will understand, and not everybody will. And then that's where you understand where it's good to put your energy and where it's good to not put your energy, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it can extinguish a lot of energy, put it in the wrong direction or trying to, you know, bring people on a journey with you that just aren't ready. And I think that like kind of is a good segue because that's what took me to like, you know, there's a couple of instances where I had these like freakish psychic and mediumship things happen. And that's when I really was like, okay, where do I find somebody who can teach me properly? And that's when I met June and you and then like psychic circles and things like that. It just got more interesting. And I've made some really beautiful connections with people through that. And then I was able to share it a bit more. But I found myself kind of doing the opposite to an extent where I reclused massively and I just was, I don't know how my wife puts up with me, like my crazy like towel moments and how I manage myself and things, but she's amazing. And so I sort of reclused a little bit because I'm like, am I losing my marbles here? Like this is insanity. But then it was like that connection through learning and through psychic circles and other groups and things where I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is amazing. I'm meeting some amazing people, and snowball effect essentially followed that. So yeah.
Yeah, and this is you know, it's a good thing to chat about because a lot of people do go through that space of loneliness
Mm.
when they kind of have an awakening and they're in this space. And certainly I did as well because, you know, you do get to the point where certainly sometimes around you the people don't really understand, or there's the shedding process, you know, where you lose the people along the way
Totally.
that you thought you would be friends with for forever, and then all of a sudden they're like don't get you because you've changed,
Yeah.
you know. That's always a good one, like you changed, like I didn't want you to. And often as well, it's because our boundaries get a lot stronger because of what we've just talked about with the energy, right? We
Totally.
become understand where yeah, our energy is sacred now. And then all of a sudden it's like, I am putting all this energy into here and I'm not getting any reciprocation to that. And that's how all of that stuff starts to change. And then finding your tribe, right? Finding a space where you feel like you're not going crazy, of course, when you're trying to tell these stories to people who are like, is she all right? Like, do
Yeah.
we need to call a doctor? Or, you know, but then to find a place where you feel safe to share. And this is what I was talking about with the community, and especially places, like June's space, and hopefully like a space that I've created for my students that have come in to work with me. And I was talking to one of my students about that today, and her understanding being supported by other people that get you.
Yeah.
That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And being able to like experiment with the actual skills that you're gaining in that environment is like,
Yeah.
there is no value you can put on that. That is just such an incredible thing to be able to do. And, particularly with mediumship and your realm, I think that is like so necessary and so needed. And, if anyone's looking to do it, definitely hit up, because there's nothing more powerful than doing mediumship readings. And if you have a community where you can exercise that ability and really hone it, you can do so much for so many people. And, yeah, it's just incredible. So I couldn't agree more. I think it's so great. Yeah.
It just blows your mind, doesn't it? Like sometimes it just really blows my mind to think that, we can communicate with people who are no longer in the physical body and bring messages of healing. And, I actually truly believe, and I say this often, that mediumship it's a healing modality. Like I don't see it as I am giving a reading to people. Like I really see it as more in the healing realm of connection and how I teach. And that's what I'm really passionate about bringing, because there's so much healing can be brought from reconciliation with a loved one in the spirit world. And I can say that from a personal point of view, because I've had it happen to me.
Likewise.
Yeah.
And there's not like, I can't think of a single instance like right now, because I've had quite a few of them, but like when you are able to deliver that, that one little keystone of information that brings things full circle and kind of closes that open wound that somebody might have with somebody that's passed over, there's nothing more valuable than that. Or if, I had one where I got this lady's name, she'd been passed for 13 years, and it just like broke this person because they were like, I thought I wasn't connected to her anymore. And then she came through in this reading and we had a first name and we knew exactly who she was. And it was just this like beautiful moment of, she has been with me all this time. And to know you're not alone, on both sides of the spectrum is such a powerful thing. So yeah, it is definitely part of the healing modalities, and probably one of the more understated ones, but the most powerful without a doubt. Yeah.
Definitely. And sometimes things that stand out to me are, when someone's had to make a decision on behalf of a loved one, and then they've held that guilt of having to make a decision to switch off a machine or to put them into respite care or something, and they hold that for so long. I remember having a conversation with a lady it was a market I was doing, and her mum came through and she was saying to her, like, you're holding something, you're holding on to something, like, and then it became, obvious, mum was like, she had to make a decision, and her mum had lived this beautiful life, was like of old age, had everything that she needed in her life. And when I, give her that information, she was like, it was time. It was her time. She lived that beautiful life. And you could just see the energy change, in her when you delivered that information, how her energy completely changed. And she was like, I have just, for the last 6 years, I have thought of nothing else but the fact that I had to make that decision. And honestly, that's the thing that, hits me. And why I do the work, why I do this work as well. And I've got heaps of stories too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take you back a little bit as well, because you were talking about, and like feeling as though, finding a tribe and finding circles and things like that. And I know that when we've had chats previously, the one thing that you mentioned to me was being a male, being a straight male in a very female dominated space of the spiritual space, right? Because people often just assume that you're gay, or what did you say? That you're a F-boy.
Yeah.
Knowing you is actually quite funny. But tell me a little bit about, how you've had to navigate that, because, a lot of people could feel like, well, I can't find my space because I am in this female dominated space.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. It's definitely a thing. Like, there's so many funny stories, but I'll save that for another podcast maybe. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. So I guess one of the blessings I had was that I had 3 sisters growing up, and I was the only boy. We moved around quite a lot. So definitely used to just being surrounded by women all the time, which is, I think that kind of like helped me a little bit because it's definitely not easy
Yes.
when you go to a psychic circle and there's like 20 women there and you're this like random guy and you're just like, oh God, like here we go again. But even some events
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to, it's a thing, but you sort of just got to suck it up and be like, I'm not here for them. I'm here for me and I'm here for what I can do for others.
Yeah.
And really, like, I just genuinely, like, it's always been part of me. I want to help people as much as I can. And that's just like ingrained in me. So that's what I just tell myself. I'm like, F that. Like, I am here for this. And I know that I can help someone profoundly by doing this. So, like, put my insecurities, my anxiety, all those things away and just get on with it. And that's largely been how I've approached it. But definitely just, yeah, female dominated area. There's a lot of assumptions when you're a random guy walking in the room, and which, yeah, is very amusing. But yeah, I don't know how to like fully explain the experience, but I think one of the things when I tell people that I do this work who aren't in the space, they look at me oddly or they have a really odd like sort of expression or energy that sort of exudes from them. And I guess like I want to remind people that I'm still a guy. Like I still go to the pub with my mates and watch sports and I surf on the weekends. I don't know, like I'm just like a normal guy that's like interested in like
Yeah.
spirituality and what it can do for people. So it's like
Yes.
I don't know, it's just it's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, it doesn't. I definitely think there's some elements to me that's probably unique in the sense that like I meditate every day and I have like a space with
Yeah.
crystals and cards and I dedicate to like clients like a few nights a week and on weekends to events and stuff like that's obviously
Mm-hmm.
part of it. But in the sense of who I
Yes.
am, I'm still just a guy that loves like beer and sports and like doing normal things. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's funny.
Yes. Let's talk about that, right? Because there's so much like stereotypical like an idea of what it is like to be spiritual, right? Isn't there? And I think that I've shared before, and I can't even remember if I talked to it about it on a previous podcast, but when I remember when I was working out of a space here local to me and I was doing readings, and I remember I came out one day to get like a lady to come in for her reading, and she was like, "Oh, well, you don't look like a psychic medium," because I was kind of just dressed in, relatively normal clothes. And then I went on this, like, I went down this rabbit hole, right, of going, well, oh my God, like maybe I need to look more spiritual. And what happened was I ended up buying this whole like wardrobe of clothes that I only wore when I went to this place to work because I wanted to look like I fit in the stereotypical box of a psychic medium. And I remember my kids going, what the hell are you wearing? You know? But at that point, I was still trying to fit in the box of what it kind of looked like to be spiritual, right? When what does it look like to be spiritual? You're not changing how you are on the outside. You're still Mark.
Yeah.
You're still, like you say, mates, going for beers, watching the footy,
Yeah.
doing the things. And that's what I always say. Like, if I'm having a margarita on the weekend, it's not that someone's nana ain't going to come through on Monday because I had the fucking margarita on the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
She's
Yeah.
not going to hold that against me.
But in saying that, it's like, yeah, if I'm doing an event on a Saturday or Sunday, I won't drink like
Yeah, of
24 hours before or
course.
something.
Yeah,
But like that's like the greatest
absolutely. Yeah.
extent, like but not that I
Yes.
even drink that much, but it's just like, yeah, I think the
Yeah.
most powerful and most spiritual thing you can do is just be you and like let anybody else's assumptions be theirs. And as long as you can say you're true to yourself and you're doing what you genuinely care about, like that's the most important thing. And I think like going back to the start of the conversation, being in like the wrong environment, it was really like an industrious environment. It was a very controlling environment and super judgmental. And you couldn't be
Yes.
like even creative without judgment. And I was very creative, and I was like very much the opposite to the
Mm.
community I was around. And that's one of the biggest things that taught me. It's like the best thing you can do in your life and to live a rich and happy life is just be who you are. It doesn't matter if what you wear or what you say, what you do. It's like how you treat people, and if you're being honest with yourself. So
Yeah.
like, but
Holy
I've
moly.
been
That,
right there where you're saying. So it's like full circle. Like,
oh,
yeah, it's so funny.
yes. I know. And I think that, oh my God, that's probably one of the most powerful statements that you just said at the beginning of that literally blew my mind. But it's so true because, when we're going on this journey, we're going on the journey to find ourselves. Like, I don't know about you, but certainly on my journey, like this person that's before you now is not the person from a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm a completely different person, and I've met myself on such a deep level and continue to do that as well. Continue to unpack who I am. Like, this year for me has really been about finding my authentic voice. Here I am, right? Accent and all, because every time I hear myself back, I'm like, oh, and everyone's like, I love your accent. And I'm like, oh, but you know what? I've learned this year is about integrating those parts for me and trying to find my own authentic voice in all the noise and other people's opinions and,
Exactly.
all of that stuff. And I really think that this journey, that's where it takes us,
Yeah,
doesn't it? It
totally.
takes us on, and to find yourself, to that extent is just so enlightening,
Yeah. It's definitely a
because it's so
process.
empowering to know yourself. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a process.
It's a journey. It's
It's
always
a
a
journey,
journey.
yeah. But likewise, I really don't like photos and videos of myself, and I've been trying to put like more photos and things of myself on my socials, and I can't tell you like how much I despise it, but I'm working on it, and it's like a slow process, and I'm getting there, but it's again, it's a journey, and yeah, it's just one of those things. 2025, I'm working on that.
That's right. And it's all about what's underneath, isn't it? Right. There's always a program, or there's always, something that's a pattern that's running under the surface for us when we reject things about ourselves.
Totally.
There's this, totally for me, and you'll get this because you know me, as a child, I was actually really, really quiet. Like, I was the child that my mum would say, I could take you anywhere. You were no bother. Put you in the corner with some coloring books. Like, you didn't hear a peep out of you. Yeah. So I went through school being that shy, kind of shut down girl who got bullied, through primary school, then through high school. And I learned to hide like as much as I could so that I wasn't bullied. And people couldn't see me. So I made myself really, really small. So eventually, when I did kind of have a bit of a breakthrough in my journey and I found my voice, then people want to tell me I talk too much. Like, oh, like Emma never shuts up. Like, she talks too much. Used to be a massive fucking trigger for me.
Really.
Like, if somebody was like, does she ever shut up? I would just go, woof. That little girl in me
Yeah.
would just turn up, and literally she would just crawl so far inside herself, to try
Yeah.
and hide.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really had to work about. Now I really don't really care if you think I talk too much. Then guess what? You shouldn't be in my world. You know where the door is.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about it
Yeah.
now. But it was a process.
It was
It
a
was a
process.
journey.
Yeah, a process of like self-awareness, that like going back to that space and that time and just acknowledging it and knowing that, other people's judgments aren't the reality. You should be who you want to be. That, I think one of the biggest things right now in the world and for everybody, and that affects their experience and ability to become more aware of things that are triggering them or reverting them back to like a child instance, is just so much noise.
Yeah.
Like, we're seeing so much on socials and these expectations, and they're really drawing us away from ourselves. Like, we're seeing like the nice car or the clothes or whatever it might be. I don't know. But in reality, like we said at the start, like you said in my bio, like everything is already within us, and it truly is. And it's just like coming back to those roots and just getting rid of that noise. And maybe you need a social detox or whatever it is, but like just being really honest with yourself about, why do I want
Yeah.
this? Why am I feeling this way? How come that those comments made me feel like this? And just like, yeah, cutting the BS and just accepting who you are, and yeah, going from there.
Just getting curious, isn't it? The biggest thing I say now is if something happens, and I'll say this to the kids, that's interesting.
Yeah.
The two phases, that's interesting, and get curious. Why is this coming up for you? I actually was freaking coaching my 18-year-old through this yesterday when she was having a meltdown. And I'm like, well, it's not what they did. What are you making it mean? He's like, shut up and just be my mother.
Coach/mom.
But awareness. Yeah, like awareness, isn't it? And I agree with you with the outside noise, having, especially teenagers and going through that. And it's multifaceted for them, especially like my 14-year-old, because and the boys are a bit different because they like to game, like not every boy, but the boys are more into the gaming. The girls are not really into that. And but it's like you'll go in and there's gaming going on, but there's an iPad running and then
Yeah.
there's music going on and it's in there. It's so sensory to the overload. I'm like,
Yeah.
mate, like you need to shut some of these avenues down because they're never really present, like
Exactly.
100% present. Like, he's got AirPods and the boys have got these thing about wearing like one AirPod as they're walking around. I'm like, no, not when you're with me.
Yeah.
Like when you're with me, you're present with me. Otherwise, they're not focused on what's in front of them. They're being distracted, like you
Yeah.
said, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you lose yourself in
Totally.
all the noise.
Totally. And it's definitely a discipline
Yeah.
breaking away from that because that you become accustomed to the sensory overload and it almost is numbing to an extent. And then it creates this opportunity for, like losing ourselves in some extent. But yeah, it's definitely a
Yeah.
practice of coming back and sort of like sitting with your breath and all those things. Like something as little as that, just every now and again to remind yourself, this is where I am now and leaving
Yeah.
those things away.
Yeah. This is what's important. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so grateful my parents didn't let me have a PlayStation or anything. So I was always doing sports because I didn't have anything else to do. But yeah, I definitely
Mm-hmm.
see that a lot. And I think for the generation coming through with like socials and all that stuff being so prevalent, it's a huge thing. Like it impacts our lives massively. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's this generation, isn't it? These kids, like in my age, obviously I'm older than you, but like I'm in that middle section where we didn't have mobile phones. Like I think I got my first mobile phone at like 26 or something, which is interesting now when you think about it, because everything, you're just living through it. And it is taking us away from really ourselves and connecting back in, which, when we come into this space, this is what we get, like for me, the reconnection with who I actually am, going full circle back to where we started and reconnecting with me. And people think I don't have time to meditate, like I don't have hours. And it actually, even if you spend 3 minutes in the morning and 3 minutes at night just intentionally feeling the breath through your body is, enough to connect yourself back in and know your own energy. I think that's a big thing as well, knowing
Yeah.
your own energy.
Becoming aware of like how you're feeling and how to like kind of self-regulate to some extent. Like if you have been overstimulated or had a stressful day or whatever it might be, it just,
Yeah.
yeah, brings you kind of home for lack of a better term. But yeah, I'm a big
Yeah,
meditator.
I like
So
that. No,
yeah,
but I like that.
yeah,
And and the thing is, I'm not.
yeah,
So here's an interesting thing. I'm not, because as soon as I go to meditate, the 50,000 browsers that's open in my brain want to talk to me all at the same time and tell me what to do.
yeah,
But I can walk meditate really well. And, or I get my best downloads when I'm actually in the shower. So a lot of people think, you have to sit quietly and meditate, and you don't really.
not at
There's
all.
lots of different ways that you can, actually meditate. And lots of people don't even know that. And they
Yeah,
don't do it because they can't sit for hours
yeah,
or whatever they've been told they have to do. And, it's about finding something that works for you. Like some people like doodling,
yeah,
and can meditate that way because their brain is busy
yeah,
doing the doodling. So it takes that away. So, it's really about finding that 5 or 10 minutes just a day to reconnect with yourself. And I
totally.
think the other thing is we go out and we get overloaded in, the supermarket. And when you were saying about isolating, you don't go to events because the energy is so big and you can't handle it. And that's because you're not aware of your own energy and what's yours and what's not yours. And I think that's a big thing as well, just learning your own vibration and your own energy.
Like especially people coming into this space or awakening to some extent, they'll find that they just absolutely stripped of all their energy after a day at the office or at an event or a social gathering. And it really is a signal that you are like kind of leaking some energy and you probably need to have some protection and shielding exercises. And it will really help you
Yes.
massively. And like I am always wearing this thing and other ones that are for protection. So
Yeah.
because I
Right.
was really
Yeah.
struggling with it throughout
Yeah.
my experience as well. So yeah, it's definitely a big sign.
Yeah, and that's often why people take mentors, right? Where we seek someone who can help us to put those things in place and understand how, the energy's working and how it can work for us. Because at the end of the day, Spirit want us to work with them. We have to find a way to coexist in our, 3D world. And if you're in a rent job, do your rent job and then obviously do your spiritual work as well. And we have to find a way to balance. And often that's certainly why I looked for a mentor, because I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on and I need someone to really help me understand everything. And, tell us a bit more how you can help people through your business or Salt Light Soul.
Yeah. So I'm really big on the healing transformation side of things because that was fundamentally the experience that brought me into this world. So my key offering would be a soul session. And essentially it starts with a bit of a psychic reading to validate whatever you're experiencing at the time and see where you're at. And then we move into like an energy healing. So I tap into Reiki, shamanism, crystal healing, and just like general energy work to see where that might resonate within the energetic body. And we try to like remove and align that.
Yeah.
And in more extreme cases, it might take a few energy healing sessions. But after that energy healing session, we'll debrief and see how it all aligns. And typically you'll see this flow throughout the whole experience that really speaks to what you're experiencing, how we can like somewhat amend that and how to look at it from a new perspective. And it really speaks to like the healing cycle or a karmic pattern that we can become aware of and start to some changes or make you feel a lot better about where you're at. Everyone reports like feeling lighter the next day. So that's always a good sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think this is the important thing, isn't it? When we bring together everything we know and we just put it into a session and we're like spirit led, guided by, whatever intuitively, we are guided to look at on that particular day. And this is how I love to work as well. And this is why it's every session is different, because it's intuitively led rather than, this is this modality. Because, people get stuck in that, don't you? I've got this modality, I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this. But it's like, how are we going to bring all that together and bring something really, really special to a session?
Yeah.
And I will pop your details in the show notes as well, so people know where to find you on socials and your website and all the things as well. And that's going to lead me into talking about something which you've kept a bit secret and I didn't know about until we were coming on this session. And this is an app that you're developing. You told me, is it the Intuitive Mind app?
Yeah. So it's not the fanciest app in the world, but it's an app nonetheless. And we're just in the publishing stage. We're having some challenges there. So I'm not sure when it will be released, but hopefully in the next few months.
Yeah.
Essentially, it gives you some really basic steps on how to tap into your intuition. And we look at just intuition itself, psychic impressions, mediumship impressions, remote viewing. There's like a lot of things in that world, but then there's also protection exercises and stuff like that. But throughout each of the steps, it gives you an opportunity to make a note on what you experienced at that point, and it saves it to a calendar. So in the app, you'll see the exercises and you'll see a calendar, and you can go back however long you want to see what you recorded at that time and see if your impressions were correct. So it really helps.
Yes, like that.
Yeah, it really helps develop like self-trust and confidence in your intuition. And the steps really step away from the woo-woo-ness, like the outer world kind of thing, and really just bring it to a fundamental practice that anybody can do. So I'm looking forward to getting that out and people having a go and letting me know what they think. It's a very basic app, but it's a starting point, and we'll see how many people want to give it a try.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And who is this for? It's just people who are curious, like maybe they're having some experiences. Tell me about that.
Totally. Yeah, they definitely fit the mold, but I genuinely believe everybody has the ability to tap into this work, into intuition. And I think there's no words to say how powerful self-trust can be when you exercise that muscle a little bit. So that's probably my biggest intention with the app, is to give people the opportunity to build their own self-trust within their intuition. Literally anybody, but definitely if you've had some experiences or you're questioning impressions that you've got, or you think, hey, that was a bit of a weird synchronicity, or that's a weird thought, then yeah, it will be perfect up for you because you'll be able to exercise that muscle and make it work for you a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know, like I certainly know every single person, and this was me too, who comes to me, wants to be a medium, like they are mediums, but they want to be able to either work in this realm or be confident. Like the biggest thing that they say is, I want to be confident, I want to trust what I receive, right? It's the two biggest words that are used in this industry. And most of the time, that's because, through our life, we judge ourselves when we've made mistakes or we've got things wrong. And I always say, who decided that mistake was a bad thing? Like, it's just a word.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that holds so much energy, right? And I remember having this conversation with my oldest daughter when she did a year at uni and decided she wanted to change, and she was like, I've like made the biggest mistake and I've let everyone down. And I'm like, no, darling, you just know that you don't want to do that anymore. It's just a redirection.
Totally.
And I think this is the biggest thing. We put so much pressure and weight on ourselves to always be right and get everything right. And what if I do it wrong? And this is a whole other podcast to talk about this, but
Yeah.
it's all of the things. So I love it. So I could go down a rabbit hole on this,
Yeah.
but let's not. But I love that this is what you're focusing on. Is not necessarily the woo woo,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody needs to have self trust in their own intuition.
Totally.
And that's not woo woo,
No.
right?
No.
It's, that's again, it's trusting the power within you to make those decisions. But a lot of the time, lots of people don't experience what they want to because they're frightened that they make a mistake.
Exactly. And I think one of the things that on my journey is being comfortable with the word failure and experiencing failure and, knowing that's okay. And it's a redirection, like you said, but, it's always bringing
Yeah.
us to our truest path. And that's why I'm not like afraid to have a go of like being a psychic and I like building it up and just doing like, I'm doing this really interesting event
Yeah.
as well now, but where we have people floating in a creek and I will do an energy healing on them while my business partner, Sandy, does a sound bowl. And it's just such a cool thing to do.
Yes.
But it's like, I don't know anybody else is doing that. So it's like another like stepping into the
No,
uncomfortable
I
and trying
haven't.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you need to tell me when that is. Yeah, I need to be on that. But yeah, definitely. I think I've only seen that kind of on socials where they put them in like big swimming pools on like on blow up beds.
Yeah. Well, we're doing them in the
And
creek.
probably in the States somewhere.
Yeah. I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
we
Interesting.
yeah, it's a really beautiful location we found, and we're hoping to do one, I think, in
Yeah.
mid-November, provided everything works out. But we did a trial on the weekend, it went really well, and super excited to do some of that as
Mm.
well. So yeah,
And just do something different.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I agree. And what's the worst thing that can happen, But imagine if it's like amazing. And, I think that's the biggest thing. We hold ourselves back from trying in case it doesn't work. But what the heck? What if it's fucking amazing?
Exactly.
What if it's the next thing? And bringing it back to what if it is rather than what if it isn't? I
Exactly.
think we're so wired as humans to brace for failure that, we
Survival
can
mode.
really hold ourselves back.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, for sure. Oh, well, it's been an amazing chat. I love we've gone lots of
Fine.
different places, which is
Yeah.
awesome. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing some of your
Thank
journey because
you.
I know even though I do have a lot of female listeners, hopefully they will pass this on to their male friends who, are like, I'm not alone. Look, there is someone else that's in this space. And, maybe there's a gap in the market here, Mark, for really well aligned woo woo male spaces. Who knows?
Yeah, I hope
Watch this
so.
space.
It'd be good to see more men in it. And to be honest, like some of my experiences I've seen, like even underground in mining, I've seen like these big burly guys like tap into their intuition to run away from like a roof fall or something happening or whatever it might be. And like, how did you
Yeah.
know that? And I just know. And you're like, well, that
Yes.
is intuition. And so everyone's got it, everyone can do it. And I have all
Yeah.
the confidence in the world. If they're willing to take a chance and try, they could change their life like massively for the better. So
Yeah, absolutely. And there is more men doing the work
mm,
now, what we say, doing the work. And I know, like, in one of the business programs that I'm in, like one of the guys in there he's a bikie and he's now a breathwork facilitator and he's
Very
a
cool.
coach and he's really helping these guys who are so much in, that masculine and in
Mhm.
that environment, who have not had good experiences in their life to change their fucking lives. And watching that and the journey he's gone on himself to then facilitate others, that's not woo woo. That's it's self-acceptance. It's,
Yeah,
like we've said, clearing out other people's opinions and, doing the work, because moving forward, we want to be better.
exactly. Get rid of the noise. Yeah.
Get rid of the noise. I think we're going to leave it with that. Get rid of the fucking noise.
Thank you so much, Em. It's been an
Awesome,
absolute
Mark.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to pop all your details in the show notes. And once that app is up and running, I will add that in as well, because I know
Thank you.
lots of people are going to jump on that.
Cool.
Thank you for your time,
Thank you.
and we will speak soon. Bye for
Cheers. Bye.
now.